The crystal chandeliers cast warm light across the elegant ballroom as Victoria adjusted her position at the table for one, watching couples swirl across the dance floor. At 34, she had built Sterling Financial into one of the most respected investment firms in the city. But tonight she felt the familiar isolation that came with attending social events alone. She had debated whether to attend her college friend's wedding, knowing it would mean navigating questions about her personal life and watching others celebrate the kind of relationship that seemed increasingly elusive. The car accident 3 years ago had changed many things about how she moved through the world, but it hadn't changed her desire for meaningful connection. Victoria wore a tailored white blazer that projected confidence, though inside she wrestled with the vulnerability that formal social events often brought. She had learned to command boardrooms from her wheelchair, but wedding receptions still felt like minefields of awkward interactions and well-meaning but misguided attempts at conversation. Across the room, she noticed a man in his early 30s trying to wrangle an energetic little girl in a purple dress who seemed more interested in exploring the ornate ballroom than sitting still. The child, perhaps 3 years old, had escaped his gentle attempts to keep her seated and was now fascinated by the elaborate floral arrangements. "Emma, sweetheart, we need to stay at our table," the man said patiently as he followed his daughter around the room. His casual attire of jeans and a gray sweater suggested he was comfortable prioritizing his child's needs over formal dress codes. Victoria watched their interaction with interest, noting how he balanced firmness with understanding as Emma tested the boundaries of wedding etiquette. When the little girl became overwhelmed by the crowd and began to get fussy, he picked her up and spoke quietly in her ear until she calmed down. "Daddy, why is everyone so fancy?" Emma asked, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "Because weddings are special celebrations, and people like to dress up for special occasions." "Are we special too?" "We're the most special people here," he replied with conviction that made Victoria smile despite herself. As the evening progressed, Victoria noticed that the man and his daughter were also somewhat isolated from the main social groups. He seemed to know some people at the wedding, but was clearly managing the event solo while caring for an active toddler. When Emma dropped her stuffed animal near Victoria's table, the little girl approached to retrieve it, studying Victoria with the unguarded curiosity that only children possess. "Hi, I'm Emma. What's that?" Emma asked, pointing to Victoria's wheelchair with innocent directness. "Hello, Emma. This is my wheelchair. It helps me get around." "Does it go fast?" Victoria laughed at the child's priorities. "It can go pretty fast when I need it to." The man appeared, slightly breathless from chasing his daughter. "I'm so sorry. Emma, you can't just run off like that." "She's perfectly fine," Victoria assured him. "I'm Victoria. Nathan. And this is Emma, my daughter and partner in chaos. It's nice to meet you both. Emma was just asking about my wheelchair." Nathan looked slightly embarrassed. "She's at the age where she asks about everything. I hope she wasn't being inappropriate." "Not at all. Children's questions are usually the most honest ones." As they talked, Victoria learned that Nathan was a teacher who had been raising Emma alone since his wife passed away 2 years earlier. He had come to the wedding because the bride was his sister, but he was clearly struggling to balance social obligations with parenting responsibilities. "Emma, do you want to see how Victoria's wheelchair works?" Nathan asked, recognizing his daughter's continued fascination. For the next few minutes, Victoria showed Emma the various features of her chair, letting her push the joystick to make it move slowly around their area of the ballroom. Emma was delighted by the experience, and Nathan seemed grateful for the patient interaction. "You're wonderful with her," Nathan said as Emma played nearby. "Do you work with children?" "I run an investment firm, actually, but I remember being curious about everything when I was her age." "An investment firm? That's impressive. I imagine that requires a lot of confidence and decision-making skills." Victoria appreciated that he focused on her professional accomplishments, rather than asking personal questions about her disability. It does. What grade do you teach? Second grade, 7- and 8-year-olds. They're at the perfect age where they're still excited about learning but old enough to actually listen sometimes. As the reception continued, Victoria found herself genuinely enjoying Nathan's company. He was thoughtful and funny, and his dedication to Emma was evident in every interaction. When Emma grew tired and cranky, he didn't make excuses or apologies. He simply adjusted his expectations and focused on her needs. "Nathan, can I ask you something?" Victoria said during a quiet moment while Emma dozed against his shoulder. "Of course. Would you and Emma like to join me at my table? You both seem a bit adrift over here, and I could use the company." Nathan looked surprised by the invitation. "Are you sure? Emma can be pretty talkative, and she's not always quiet." "I'm sure. Besides, she's more interesting than most of the business conversations I usually have at these events." As they settled at Victoria's table, Nathan seemed to relax for the first time all evening. Emma perked up with the change of scenery and immediately began chatting with Victoria about her dress, her stuffed animal, and her observations about the wedding. "Victoria, do you want to dance?" Emma asked with the fearless social skills of a 3-year-old. "I'd love to dance with you, but I dance a little differently than most people. Can your chair dance too?" Victoria smiled, understanding that Emma's acceptance was completely uncomplicated. "It can." Nathan looked uncertain. "Victoria, you don't have to feel obligated to entertain her." "I'm not feeling obligated. I'm feeling delighted." Victoria maneuvered her wheelchair onto the edge of the dance floor where Emma could hold on to the armrest and dance beside her. For several songs, they moved together to the music, with Emma giggling and twirling, while Victoria provided the steady presence she could hold on to. Nathan watched from the sidelines with an expression of wonder and gratitude. "That's the most fun she's had all evening," he said when they returned to the table. "It's the most fun I've had in months," Victoria replied honestly. As the wedding wound down, Nathan seemed reluctant for the evening to end. "Victoria, I want to ask you something, but I'm not sure how to phrase it appropriately." "Just ask directly. I appreciate honesty. Would you be interested in having dinner sometime? Not as a pity date or because you were kind to Emma tonight, but because I'd like to get to know you better." Victoria felt her heart skip with surprise and pleasure. "Nathan, I'd like that very much. Even though I come as a package deal with a very talkative 3-year-old? Especially because of that." 6 months later, Victoria sat in her office reviewing the quarterly reports when Nathan arrived with Emma for their usual Friday afternoon visit. Emma had become a regular fixture in Victoria's life, and Victoria had discovered that her office's conference room made an excellent space for tea parties and coloring sessions. "Victoria!" Emma called out, running to give her a hug. "Daddy says we're having pizza tonight and you're coming to our house." "That's right. Are you excited?" "Yes. And Daddy says I can show you my new book about dinosaurs." Nathan approached with the warm smile that had become Victoria's favorite part of every day. "How was the board meeting?" "Successful. We're expanding the scholarship program for students with disabilities." "That's wonderful. Emma, tell Victoria what happened at school today." As Emma launched into an animated story about her preschool adventures, Victoria reflected on how dramatically her life had changed since that wedding where she had felt so isolated. Nathan had brought not just romance but a sense of family and belonging that she hadn't realized she was missing. "Nathan, do you ever think about that night at your sister's wedding?" "Every day. I think about how I almost didn't go because I was worried about managing Emma alone at a formal event. I almost didn't go either. I was tired of feeling like an outsider at social gatherings." Nathan reached for her hand. "We found each other when we both felt most alone. That seems like more than coincidence." Victoria understood that sometimes the most meaningful connections happen when we stop trying to fit into spaces that weren't designed for us and start creating new spaces where everyone belongs. Nathan had seen her as a complete person from their first meeting, and Emma had accepted her with the uncomplicated love that only children possess. The wedding that had seemed like an obligation had become the beginning of a family built on mutual respect, shared laughter, and the recognition that love comes in many different forms. If this story of finding love and family in unexpected moments touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more uplifting tales that remind us how the right people see our worth immediately and completely. Your support helps us. Continue sharing stories that celebrate authentic connection and the beauty of chosen families.